So I imagine most of you know a lot about Dusty's illustrious career in Major League Baseball, but I'll give you just a few highlights. Dusty had a 19-year playing career in Major League Baseball, played for 4 different teams, won a World Series with the Los Angeles Dodgers, then shortly after playing became a manager and has coached for over 20 years, had very successful careers with the Giants, the Cubs, and most recently the Cincinnati Reds. Dusty is also, I believe, still the only National League manager to be National League Manager of the Year 3 times. So incredible amount of coaching experience. And as amazed as I am with his accomplishments on the field and as a manager, I'm even more impressed by Dusty's commitment to the community in Sacramento and then also just the entire youth sports community. So with that, I want to introduce Dusty Baker. He's going to talk a little bit about his role as a Major League Baseball manager, the role that he had growing up playing youth sports and the role his father had, and then also the role of a sports parent. And he's got a son at Jesuit, so he's just going to talk a little bit about that. I want you, as Dusty's speaking, to think about any questions you might have, because after he's done talking, we're going to give him a few minutes for questions and answers. So with that, I want to introduce you to Dusty Baker.
Good afternoon. It's a pleasure and a joy to be here, especially in front of my home folks. And this is a lot fancier than it was last time. I'm looking at this backdrop here. Than the first time we met. And I got to commend Dave before I say anything about anybody or anything. And Dave Shapiro is probably one of the most honest, smooth guys that I've been around, and he's, I'm glad he's not a bulldog or something, because man, this guy never quits. And the fact that he started locally, and everywhere I go now, people ask me, do I know Dave Shapiro? Because I know most of the people in Cleveland and Minnesota and Tampa Bay, and you've been around as long as I've been around. Either they know you or either I know them. So, I just want to, personally thank Dave and his hard work. When I call him, he's always someplace else in the country. And so I hope that PCA and the city of Sacramento really, really appreciates, what he's about. Because, this guy has energy. And like I said, whenever I call, he's somewhere. And I'm shocked when he's in Sacramento. I don't even have him in my phone. But I know when that 801, what is it? 801, I know that's Dave. But anyway, my story started, in Riverside, California. And my dad was my Little League coach. I was fortunate enough to have, a father that was there. And I tell people now, broken homes, it seems to be the norm. But back then, broken homes were rare. And, my dad was my coach. He was Bobby Bonds' coach. And I wanted to grow up and be like Bobby Bonds. That was my childhood hero. He played all sports. I played all sports because I wanted to be like Bobby. And, and Riverside was a town that was it was about 50,000 people. So it was a perfect sized town. They had like 2 high schools, 4 junior high schools. So, we all had to play together. We were, we played football, baseball, basketball, swam in the summer, played soccer. We were always busy playing something. And the town was such where, there wasn't, there was some segregation in the neighborhoods, but there wasn't any segregation in the teams that I played with and coming up. Our teams had blacks, whites, Mexicans. Guys on my team were Chile and Sean and Sammy, and some of the names of the guys I played with. And everybody had a nickname. There was Beast, there was Buddhist, he had a big old head. There was Roach. Now I don't think I like that name, Roach. So anyway, like I said, we all came up playing ball. And Actually, baseball has taught me a lot about life and about the world. I've seen most of the world through because of baseball, and it almost wasn't so, because my dad, he cut me when I was 8 years old. He said I had a bad attitude, and I just threw the bat up against the backstop when I struck out, and he cut me. Then he cut me when I was 9, and then he cut me when I was 10. So, like, I was a slow learner. My nickname was Hardhead. And, if he says Hardhead right now, I'd turn around and look at him. But my dad told me that if you can take that bad attitude and put it in a positive direction, that you could be something someday. And I wanted to quit after I was 10 years old. I wanted to get a paper route because my dad believed in hard work and no pay. And so I was gonna try to, get a paper route, make me $1.25 and be rich. And my dad told me that, no son of mine is going to quit at anything. He says, you're going to see this out, and I have too much money invested in you in the $9.99 Sears and Roebuck glove, and that was his investment. And so, one thing led to another. Attitude in my house was big. Attitude in my world right now is still big. I don't care if they're playing pro. I don't care what. Not only baseball, but sports in general. I mean, because I've been in sport all my life since I was a little kid. And, some of the people that are the most influential in my life, have been the coaches. And the coaches, they spend actually more time with their children than you do. And, a positive coach is a great influence. I know all my coaches. I was fortunate enough to have, most of my coaches were outstanding. Not only my father, I had other coaches all the way up. And, some, I had a few, always going to be a few bad coaches. It's hard to tell your son that or your daughter that, but it's sort of like dealing with life, because sometimes you're going to have a bad boss or two that you're going to have to learn how to get along in the workplace and still get along with a bad boss. And so it's similar to life, but it's just hard to tell kids that. We know that as adults, what you have to do to keep your job. But as a kid, they see, everything is traumatic. Everything is deep. And so, like, I urge all of you in here, I know you're volunteer coaches, but that's why I love PCA, because it's helping people to understand how to coach. Because there is a way to coach and there's a bad way to coach. Sport has taught me also about desire and hard work, which I carry into, my life right now. And all this is because of sports. And it's taught me, like, honesty and rules, because there's always rules. There are going to be rules everywhere in life. And a lot of times we don't like the rules. And a lot of times, a few times I got in trouble for breaking the rules. But I did know, what the rules were. And even sometimes it's kind of fun breaking the rules. But at least I know what the rules are supposed to be like. Sport also taught me about being organized. And I see my son now at Jesuit. It taught me, and I'm looking at him, and I'm like, dang, I'm seeing kind of like myself, in the past, where now he has to practice time management for the first time in his life, which is going to be huge in his life. And the one thing that they usually give me credit for is the guys are amazed on how I can manage my time and do a lot of different things at the same time and always come out on time, even though in my life I was, as a manager, I'm in charge of time. I didn't, really want to be a manager, to tell you the truth. I really didn't even want to be a baseball player. I wanted to be a basketball or a football player. But going back, my parents got divorced when I was a senior in high school. My senior year. We moved up here to Sacramento after my sophomore year, And, I really didn't want to come, but I really didn't have much choice. And my dad's job got transferred to McClellan from San Bernardino in Southern Cal, and our choice was to go to Sacramento or go to Ogden, Utah. So I was like, Dad, I don't think we need to go to Utah. And, even though it might have been fun, but I loved to fish. I loved to hunt as a kid coming up. And then Sacramento, I really didn't want to come here either, but Sacramento was like, paradise for me. The river is right down the street from my house. I could go fishing all the time. The only time I got in trouble was fishing. And because of sport, I got caught a couple times lying, to my basketball coach. And I was fishing on Saturday. I'll never forget it. And it was the steelhead running in the American River. And so the coach, I told him I was sick that morning. I said, Coach, I can't make the practice. I'm sick. So he goes, okay, Dusty, see you on Monday. I said, okay. So I went to the river, me and my buddy. And then we got back to school. Coach McCullough, he's like, hey, man, how many fish did you catch? I'm like, man, Jim Baker must have told somebody because we had a pact not to tell. Well, it just so happened that, at that time in Carmichael, we were the only black family that I knew of. We were only black kids in my school, me and my brother. So anybody black in Carmichael was a Baker. So we couldn't do anything wrong. They saw us for a mile away. Well, the coach was at the down by the river getting sand for the broad jump pit, and he saw me and my friend fishing in the middle of the river, and that's how we got busted. And Mr. McCullough said, "Don't lie to me," and I was like, and I lied anyway. And he says, "Well, I got to put you on the bench," and that's when I was like, "Oh no!" He put me on the bench in the first half of the game. We were behind, put me in the second half. We ended up winning the game, and the coach told me, he said, "Look, don't you lie to me again, because I don't want to have to put you on the bench like that." And that's one of my rules as a manager is don't lie to me. I don't have a bunch of rules, but my number one rule is that you come to work on time. Number two is that you give me all you got when you're on the job. And you don't lie to me, because if you lie to me, you're not giving me a chance to understand, because there's a good chance I might understand that I might have been in that same situation at some point in time. So, the moral is, because of sport, I learned some valuable lessons. Also, I learned about teamwork, shortly after I was in pro ball. I learned that, let me back up first. Right after I was drafted, and I got a call, and I prayed the night before. I said, Lord, whatever you do, don't let me get drafted by the Atlanta Braves. Because I didn't want to go to the South. And the South was and the whole United States was in a state of, unrest. Nonconformity was the norm. Everybody was anti-Vietnam, anti-something else. And I didn't want to, we were having riots, and I didn't want to go to the South. And that was one of the best things that ever happened to me, because, I got to travel, number one. Number two, I went to the South, where I thought everybody with an accent was in the Ku Klux Klan. And I met some of the best people in the whole world. I met some that didn't like me, but I met those that did like me. It didn't matter what color they were. I learned a lot in life. My first day in pro ball, I told you I was in Little Rock, Arkansas. I played right field. And Cito Gaston, I don't know if you know him, he was a manager of Toronto for a while. And all these guys are older than me, and I was called the kid, always. And I always had somebody looking out for me, just like when I signed, Hank Aaron promised my mom he'd take care of me as if I was his son. And, that's a form of coaching which was passed to me, which I pass on to others. And I tell these guys that it's not yours to possess, it's yours to pass on to somebody else, because I didn't give it to myself. And what I'm giving you, I didn't give to myself. Somebody else gave it to me. Anyway, the first ball hit to me. I dropped it, and then they had some guys over there in right field, and nobody was there. There was only about 50 people in right field. They started calling me all these names, man. I was like, man, I start crying, and I wanted to go back home. And they called me some good ones. Some of them I never even heard of. A couple of them I want to say, man, that's original. And come to find out that those same people that were sitting in right field, those same people were, every Thursday they let people out of the mental institution right next door. And that's where they set all the people in the mental institution. And afterwards, I didn't feel so bad. I like, man, that guy's off anyway, you know what I mean? But, because of sport, I've had I'm going back to the Marines. That's where I really learned teamwork. Sports, gave me a sense of teamwork. But I really didn't want to join the Marines either. But again, Vietnam was hot. The National Guard was the only thing that was open. I saw something the other day on ESPN, Over the Lines, and they were talking about the University of Mississippi and the first black that had gone there, and how it was, and I said at that time I didn't want to join the National Guard because they were called out on riots, all over the country, and so what was left for me was the Marines, and when I got there, they said some guy. One recruit was going to be a dress blue guy in blue, and the rest of the 600-700 guys were going to be in green. Well, I just knew that was going to be me. And my whole life, when they talked about being good at something, even if I wasn't good, I would go out and practice. I'd practice this move until the sun went down. And my neighbors would say, hey, man, quit bouncing that ball, Baker, go to sleep. And then next day, I get 20 points, and like, oh, I knew that boy was going to be something. That boy right there. So anyway, I joined the Marines, and I was competitive. I wanted to be the best at everything, hand-to-hand combat. The physical fitness test. My mom believed in school big time, so all these things were. Were driven or instilled in me to want to be the best. And I think, sport is what did it for me. And, that's what gave me the competitive edge. That's what gave me, the drive and the desire, because nobody thought that I was really going to get that far, but me and one teacher that I had. And I had a teacher that told me that one day I had a book report in front of the class, and they told me, they asked me, said, Dusty, what do you want to be? And I said, I want to be a pro. And all these kids started laughing and everything. So, again, I didn't cry, but I was close to tears. And so the teacher says, no, Dusty, she told everybody to be quiet. She goes, Dusty, you can be anything that you really want to be as long as you want to put in the time and the effort and the work. And that's what's driven me for a long, long time. Plus my dad, instilled in us that, if you were an African American, a lot of times you had to be twice as good as the next guy, which wasn't derogatory, but it was the truth, especially at that time. And so I heard all these people talking to me. I heard my coaches talking to me. I heard everybody in my life talking to me. And at that time, I was in kind of a crossroads of how to be and what to do. And in the South, and luckily for me, I had Hank Aaron. And because of baseball, I was with Hank every day. I met all the civic leaders in our country, Jesse Jackson. I was with Hank, Maynard Jackson, Andrew Young. I met, everybody. I went through, I met Mama Lillian, Jimmy Carter's mother. She used to call me my little Dusty. And so, I had no clue. I was just playing ball, but all these things started when I was a little kid. And the way I was raised, to be, they thought I was respectful. I've also played, winter ball. I played winter ball in Mexico, Venezuela, Puerto Rico, all because of sport. I managed in Japan on the All-American team over there in Japan. I've been to Canada. I've been every place in this country almost, all because of sport. And that's not really, wasn't my goal when I came up. All I want to do was play ball. But in the meantime, a lot of these responsibilities are heaped upon us, whether you're coaches, parents, leaders, or whatever it is, and you have to accept it because somebody has to take the bull by the horns. And there are a lot of people running away from their responsibility, and these young people, such as me, as I was young, I was fortunate enough to have different people that cared about me. I remember, man, I was bad one day, and I was messing with this girl, and I was cursing, and we had a lady. She's a neighborhood snitch, and so she told my mama before I got home, and I walked in the door, and Mom said, "Well, what happened?" I said, "What are you talking about?" And she says, Miss McKinley called over to the house. But that's how it was back then. It's a different story and a different day now. The other day I was looking, to change the subject, the other day I was looking at a commercial. And it had this little kid that broke a window with this ball. And I was like, dang, that's me. And I got a whipping from my dad because I didn't tell my dad the truth. Because I broke the window, and the ball hit the curtain, and it was like right there, I could see it. So I just reached in, got the ball, and went on back home. I didn't think I'd get busted. Guess what? So my dad's going to say, son, you got anything to tell me? Nah, Dad, why? He says, you break a window? Where? Did you break that window? I said, yeah. Yes, I did. And see, most of the time when I got in trouble, it was something to dealing with ball, almost all the time. Then I was totally disappointed when I left the Atlanta Braves because I wanted to go to the Dodgers, and they didn't want to trade me. And I called Hank Aaron. I said, Hank, you know what? Every time I ask Mr. Robinson, Eddie Robinson is the general manager, every time I ask him for a trade, he'd always ask me, man, you ever been to Cleveland? So I said, man, why do you keep mentioning that I've ever been to Cleveland? And Cleveland then was the Siberian front where they sent the bad guys. They had the worst stadium. It was called Mistake by the Lake. I mean, now they have a nice stadium. It's a nice town. But then, man, Cleveland was. So I prayed. I said, Lord, please don't let me go to Cleveland. They traded me to L.A. And that was the greatest thing that happened to me because my idol as a kid wore number 12, which I always wore. He played left field, and he batted third in the lineup. And as a kid, you know, I dreamed of the days, you know, that I could wear number 12 and play in the big leagues. Not many kids get to wear their hero's uniform and bat in the same order. And so baseball also taught me at that time a tremendous amount of disappointment. I had gotten traded for like 4 guys, and I hit a home run my first at bat, and I didn't hit another home run until July 4th, and I hit 4 home runs that year, and I was booed every day. I mean, I would like sit in the dugout, and they put me on the bench, and I'd pinch hit, but I'd wait till right before the umpire goes like this, and I'd run out there, and then, you know, they couldn't boo so long. And so, you know, I mean, I was down and out, and you know, again, I had a knee operation. Like I said, I was terribly disappointed, but, you know, my desire and my fight, you know, just wouldn't let me, you know, not come back. And then I hit 30 home runs. From then on, I got to be like the all-time left fielder, surpassing my hero, Tommy Davis, is on the all-time Dodger team. And so one thing I learned while I was there was the effects of envy and jealousy and guilt, because you know, some of the guys on the teams, you know, we're kind of jealous, and envious whether you're making this much money or whether you're hitting 300 and they're not. And I remember one day Steve Garvey told me, and you know, a lot of people didn't like Steve Garvey, but I love Steve Garvey, and he's one of my best friends. But I came from the Braves. See, when I got to the Dodgers, there were like 2 or 3 cliques of guys that had come up together through the minor leagues, and so you know, Steve Garvey was a guy that was square, and he's real square, but he was square every day. And see, and I could go for that. Don't be round one day and square the next day. Just, if you square, just be yourself. Be square. So Steve Garvey told me he was hitting about 285, and I was hitting about 310, 315, except mine was a weak 315. I'd get like one hit, a little blooper or something up the middle. You could tell a slump was right around the corner. Where Steve Garvey was hitting like 4 balls hard and getting one hit, just like me, but his stuff was about to come. And I remember Steve Garvey told me that he said, "Don't come down to see me." And he said, "Let me come up to see you." And that was one of the greatest statements that I had ever been told since I had been playing sports. And I was like, "Man, you're a good dude." And that's exactly what I did. I stayed up there. I think I ended up hitting 320 in Garvin. I'm hitting 310 or 315. But, you know, that you know, overcoming, you know, a lot of times in sports, the thing that I notice is that you overcome, like, you're forced to overcome, you know, racism. You have to accept one another, at least to coexist in the workplace, because you know, no place is a utopia with no problems at all. It doesn't work like that. And I tell our guys, I mean, there are guys from Alabama that had never been around blacks. There are guys from Dominican that never been around whites. There are guys that never been around Japanese or Chinese or whatever it is. And that's what sport is all about, is that, you know, once you're around somebody for a long period of time and in a small setting, in a small place, invariably you're going to end up liking that person, and invariably some of the stereotypes that you were either taught or felt or believed, you know, will be broken down because of sport. I mean, and that's how it is. I mean, I've seen some guys that would not associate with anybody, and then toward the end of the year, I see them going out together, and I was like, man, if these guys hadn't been playing sports, you know, they wouldn't be a family. And I tell all our guys, we are family. And see, if we're going to spend 200 days plus together, we're going to have to learn how to like each other, or else it makes it miserable on the plane, on the bus. And I tell them, no matter what, now you guys got to stick together. You know, my dad always told me, no matter what, to try to do the right thing. And sometimes I haven't, but I know what to do. And if you do the right thing, you know, you'll sleep at night. Now, you may not have a job. Trust me, I'm a witness. But, you know, if you do, you know that you can always, you know, go around some people, because the people like to see you coming. And the people that know that I try to be honest as possible. All these kind of things have evolved, you know, through my time as a player. Also, you know, I was thinking the other day, I said, man, you know, I've met some fabulous people. I've been so lucky. You know, I mean, I got letters on my wall from Bob Hope, from Frank Sinatra, from President Carter. Frank Sinatra, might like Frank Sinatra. Ronald Reagan, George Bush, I met both of them, President Obama, Desmond Tutu, Andrew Young. You know, I'm personal friends with Hank Aaron, you know, Willie Mays, Sandy Koufax, you name them. And, you know, all because of sport. And no matter if I go back in the ball or not, people ask me, said, oh, when are you going to go back? I'm so tired of hearing that question. What are you going to do? And see, what I'm going to do is I'm going to let God tell me where to go, because it's been pretty good so far. Because most of the things that I've done in my life, I did not want to do. Like I said, I didn't want to coach. I didn't want to play baseball. There's a whole bunch of stuff I didn't want to do, but everything that he wanted me to do came out right, and then everything that I really wanted to do came out wrong. So I've just, trust me. So I just learned to just, let it flow and try to prepare, as much as possible. And this is, I really appreciate the work that PCA is doing. I'm proud to be on their board, with some bad dudes. I mean, sometimes I wonder, people think I'm all this and all that, but I think that the people I'm with are all that. When I look at Pat Riley and I look at, Tony La Russa's on the board. Who else on the board? Phil Jackson. I mean, that's big. And if Bill Walsh were alive, I'm sure he'd be on the board too, because he was my mentor. When I started as a coach, because I had three mentors: my dad, Bill Walsh, and also Al Apples. And again, like I said, I've been very, very fortunate. Sport has allowed me also to educate my family, sent my mom to school, sent my brothers, my sisters, my nieces, my nephews, those that wanted to do something. And, I made a pretty good living out of it. And so, I'm just here to get back to you. It's been a little bit trying time this spring, a little bit, because, it's the first time I hadn't gone to spring training in a while. But, like the one thing I don't miss getting up at 5:30 in the morning to go to practice. Every day. We get one day off in spring training. I say, you guys like spring training. You guys love spring training. Most of us didn't really like spring training. We wanted the games to start. And, I've been fortunate enough to, like I said, to be up and down, take care of my family. And sport has permitted me, to do that. And the mold's not going to stop here. I mean, you'd be surprised. You don't know there's other people out there that are going to be pros like me. And if you can't be a pro, and then I urge the kids to play as far as they can play, because of whatever lessons that they learned in sport are the same lessons, that I learned, and the same lessons that those in the future shall learn. So, again, I appreciate everything that you've done. I appreciate your attention. Listen to me today, and right after this game, something. I'm gonna close with this. My father never missed a game. I don't know how. He had 5 kids, and my dad worked 2 jobs. He worked at McCullen and he worked at Sears, and he never missed a game. And the game didn't start until I looked up and saw my dad. Then the game started. And I'm like, okay, boys, I'm ready to get down. So just want to say thank you very much. I got time for a few questions. There's no such thing as a bad question, because if it came to your mind, and if I can help you, I will. And if I can't, then sometimes I'm not supposed to answer certain questions, especially with that camera on back there or somebody's. All right, anybody?
Mr. Baker,
Yes.
how do you deal with all of the egos, like down the change? How do you deal with those egos?
Well, that's a pretty good question. Athletes, I don't think they've really changed. I think the athletes still like to win. Society has changed in as much as the amount of money that's capable, to make. That's what's really kind of changed things. The players now can get a manager fired, or the player got a 10-year contract. They call it, butts in the seats. Whoever's putting butts in the seats is valuable. Is the most valuable player. But I didn't have any trouble dealing with it, because I was one of those ego guys too. And I made a lot of money too. Lost some money, but made some money. And so I said, the one thing that I tell these guys is that this game is very humbling. I mean, you can have as big ego as you want, but let you boot a ball in the ninth and lose the game or strike out, bases loaded. This game will humble you at some point in time. I remember one time, man, I was really doing it, and they had this article in L.A. Times, and it showed me with a bat. It was a thermometer, and whoever was hurt on my team was clinging to my part of the body, whatever they were hurt. Like Bill Russell had a bad ankle. He's on my ankle. Reggie Smith had a bad shoulder. I'm carrying him up here. I'm carrying Davey Lopes over here and somebody else over there. So I told my wife, I said, baby, I'm getting down. She said, no, don't say that. And I said, hey, it's true. Shoot, I can't help from a bad man. And so she says, so that night, we were playing Cincinnati Reds. And runners on second and third, 2 outs. Left-hand pitcher, Jerry Royce pitching. Dan Dreesen up, and Joe Morgan on second base. I had him play perfectly on the line over there for the third out. And it got in the lights, and I went like that. And I looked back behind me, and the ball ricocheting off the wall. And Joe Morgan rounds third, and he goes like that to me because he knew what happened. So that was the longest walk back to the dugout because I knew the camera was on me. And my phone rang as soon as I got back to my room about 15 times, and I didn't want to answer it. Guess who it was? My wife. I told you not to brag. Don't be bragging. So see, this game sooner or later will humble you. The game will take care of you. Yes.
Last week there was an inspiring commercial on television before the Academy Awards featuring the 1939 backfield of the UCLA Bruins with Woody Stroud, who later on became a great actor.
Right.
And also Jackie Robinson. How did those individuals inspire you as you went to UCLA a few years afterwards?
No, well, I didn't go to UCLA. I wanted to go to UCLA. I was supposed to go to Santa Clara to play basketball. And my dad wanted me to go to Santa Clara. I personally wanted to go to Arizona State or San Jose State because then you could just get a 2.0. And I heard they're the 1-2 party school of the country. I was planning on having me some fun, you know what I mean? 2.0, I can do that standing on my head. So, yeah, but they inspired me a lot. I have a Jackie Robinson wall at my house where I have a lot of shots of Jackie Robinson, and I have a shot in my son's room of Jackie Robinson's last day in the Dodger uniform before they traded him to the Giants. And then right next to him, my son put a picture of me up there on my last day with the Dodgers right next to Jackie Robinson. And one of the awards I got this winter was I was a recipient of the Jackie Robinson Award from his wife, Rachel. So that's about as high honor as I've gotten or would ever like to have. And, Jackie inspired my father because my dad would tell me, we were cutting lawns or something, this second job down at Riverside, and some guy talked stuff on me or whatever. My dad said, look, son, he says, don't be fighting. He says, on Monday when you go to school, they think you're playing flag, but you're really playing football, tackle. So it was a way where my dad would always tell us, what would Jackie do when I was a kid? And I got tired of hearing that. But, it inspired me to the point where after a while I was thinking about, how to succeed a different way. And, I know all about Jackie Robinson. The court martial is Jackie Robinson. Jackie Robinson in the Army. And, Woody Strode, I thought Woody Strode, I don't know the people that know Woody Strode, I thought he was an Indian for a while because every movie he played in, he played an Indian. And he's black? Yeah, he looked like, he looked like a pretty good Indian to me. And so, Jackie, it was passed on. Jackie inspired Hank Aaron. I was fortunate enough to be on the Dodgers and be around guys like Erskine and Labine and Roy Campanella, Jim Gilliam, Newcomb, that always told us some of the stories, about Jackie Robinson. And as a matter of fact, my son, he said he wanted to go to UCLA and play second base like Jackie Robinson.
Right over here. Bill.
Yes.
With the Dodgers spending so much money, approaching $400 million, then you got the Astros, spending what they're spending on one player. Do you ever see a salary cap in baseball?
That's a pretty good question. There's supposed to be a salary cap, but it's kind of a taxation. I mean, the Yankees, they never cared. The thing about a salary cap, anybody here own like a fast food restaurant in here? Anybody? Well, McDonald's really don't care about what Taco Bell charges. This is kind of America's free enterprise, where they're all in the same boat and they're all owners, but they're all separate as far as their finances are concerned. So I don't know what the answer is, because they've been hounding about that since the beginning of time. I mean, they asked about a salary cap when the Yankees had more money than anybody, and so quite frankly, I don't see much of a change in the game, because the game is healthier now financially than any other time. And you can tell by that, when there's no threat of strikes, that kind of means everybody's happy. And see, I was in every strike there was, and the strike was always over money, sooner or later. Yes.
I know you're a big hunter, Dusty, but is it true that you only shoot greenheads?
Anybody didn't know what that means? Well, greenheads are mallards, the prettiest bird out there. Pintail's also pretty. But yeah, I try to shoot greenheads. I mean, I'll go past a widgeon, and I like canvasbacks too. I mean, they're fun. So, how do you know I shoot greenheads?
I've only hunted with you about 6 times.
Oh man, what's up? Hey, this guy here, he's one of the best hunters I ever seen. And he's also he got the best dog in America.
Very nice of you. Thank you.
No, that's the truth. I missed you last year.
I know. I'm sorry.
I know, and I didn't get to hunt 2 years ago because I was, I had a stroke. And but I'm doing good now. And I also believe that because I was an athlete, I know how to train. I knew how to come back. I knew, what to do. I know when to, cut the food and also cut the drinking. I mean, if I wasn't an athlete, I just believe that I may not be here. One more, and then I'm getting the cue. Yes, sir.
Favorite team you coach and favorite players you coach?
Whew. Well, favorite team I coached was the Giants, probably. Yeah. And the favorite team I coached was the '93 Giants, because that was my first team. And they went from as a coach, you're like a father, to the players. No, I'm sorry. As a coach, you're like an uncle to the players. You can talk to them about anything, but as a head coach, you're kind of like a father to them, where they're not going to tell you the same things. And so by the time I was already a coach 5 years with Robbie Thompson, Will Clark, all those guys, I knew everything about them, so they couldn't try to hide anything, from their fathers. So my favorite players, boy, that's tough. I got some good ones. Probably Robbie Thompson, Willie McGee, my son's godfather, Darren Lewis, who I named my son after, and I had some good ones. Billy Swift, guys that are quality guys. Also like Matt Williams. Matt Williams said that I was his mentor, and Matt. They asked Matt what was the best advice I gave him. He said on ESPN the other day. he said I told him, he said I told him don't think too much because you're not very good at it.
Dusty Baker. Great. Thanks so much, Dusty, for being here and all of your hard work and dedication and wisdom. We really, really appreciate it. We're just about on time. I can't believe it, which is terrific. I just want to thank our sponsors very quickly for all of your support in making this possible. Mass Mutual, Doug Van Order, Deloitte, Pacific Coast Building Products, Deloitte, of course, Kerry Rosario on board, John Finnegan at BECAG, Art Kasabian at Allstate, John Stone, Sean Moore, Dr. Hunter Green at Summit Orthopedics, the ubiquitous John Frisch at Coronation Carey, Newmark Knight and Frank, and of course, I want to bring Lori Root up one last time from Benefits Done Right, our title sponsor. Thank you, Lori. If you could come up for one quick second, that'd be great.
Oh, brother. That's embarrassing. Thank you. That's very thoughtful. Just really awesome that you all were able to make it today. Thank you. I hope you go back and take this message, spread the word, and demonstrate what integrity is about in everything that you do. Have a good one.
Thank you, Lori. Thanks again. Oh, sorry, we just started dancing. Great, thanks again, Lori. And listen, as a nonprofit, we've got to ask. So if you have the ability and you want to give and you like to, you know what we do and you believe in it. You can find us online. I'll track you down. Sacramento's not that big. It's probably bigger than what Riverside was, 50,000, but we will find you. But thanks again for being here. If there's a school or league that you'd like to connect us with, again, please feel free to reach out through our board members, our website, Twitter, all that stuff. We'll make those connections. And again, I just want to thank you very much for really giving us the ability to build better athletes, better people. Because, the content is great. The message is great, but it takes a lot of energy and a lot of drive and a lot of dollars to actually make it happen at Grant High School, at Encina High School, at the Grant Junior Pacers. And you guys are making it happen and giving us the opportunity to do that. So I'm really forever thankful for the opportunity to really be involved with PCA, an organization I really believe in, and that I just absolutely love the message and what we're doing, and again, really galvanizing people and leveraging in the best possible way those teachable moments for our kids. So thanks very much. Have a good afternoon. We'll see you at our next event. Thank you.